Welcome to part 2 of this Football Manager 2016 experiment, where I have swapped all of the English divisions around. So we've got the real English Premier League teams in the Conference North and South, and the real Conference North and South teams in the English Premier League. So in part 1 I holidayed 1 year to see what would happen, and I asked you guys to smash the like button for part 2. And here is part 2, and if you want to download the database, it is in the description below. You can download it from the Steam Workshop, and then you can start a new game and play on this database with a team of your choice. Maybe you'll want to manage a real life Premier League team or Championship team and try and take them back up to the promised land, or maybe manage someone like Harrogate, who have now won 2 seasons in a row. Maybe you can manage a team like this and try and keep them in the Premier League for as long as possible, and when the real Premier League teams get back up to the top division, compete with them and defeat them and grab the top spot ahead of the likes of Chelsea and Man City. Now that is a challenge. So as you can see here, it's the end of 2017. I'm going to holiday another 2 years in this part 2 as well. If you can once again smash that like button, it would be much appreciated, and subscribe to the channel if you're new as well, and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Anything you spot that's unusual or interesting or fascinating, put it in the comment section below to share your thoughts with other people and with me as well. So in this first update of one of 3 updates in this part 2, we can see Harrogate won the league for a second season in a row, but Gosport lost out just on goal difference, 6 goals behind Harrogate. They finished 3rd last season, but on the same number of points. So very unlucky, but Harrogate doing very well to win the league 2 seasons in a row. Hayes and Yedding and Hemel Hempstead grabbing the other 2 Champions League places. We'll have to see how the Champions League teams did last year. Margate doing very well after getting promoted last year to the top division, finishing on 62 points just outside the Champions League. Whitehawk also doing well. Gloucester, North Ferriby and Curzon Ashton were their 3 teams unfortunate to go down. You can see the top goal scorer here was a Hayes and Yedding guy, Lemonheigh Evans. Let's see who he played for last year. Was playing in the Vanarama South for Bristol City, then moved on a free to Hayes and Yedding up to the top division. Let's see, it'd be interesting to see about transfers actually and see what's going on, but you can see a few other stats there if you're interested in manager movements as well. But I suppose transfers probably is the most interesting thing with this. What sort of money are they spending? Hemel Hempstead, the biggest spenders. I actually predicted that in the last video. I said perhaps Hemel Hempstead will go and spend lots of money, and they have. Joe Rules from Cardiff is the top signing. Now, as the years go by, the signings will get bigger and bigger for these teams as they accumulate more money and do better in the league, getting more TV money and Champions League money. The competition reputation has actually remained the same. It's managed to stay in second place despite the fact we've got a lot worse teams obviously in this division now. But let's have a look at the champions Harrogate then and see the sort of players and the manager they have. They've got Simon Weaver in charge. Their hot prospects Connor Roberts, but their key player is Ryan Kent, who was playing for Coventry last year, but he's come from Liverpool. He was on loan at Coventry, so he's an ex-Liverpool player, and he's their key player apparently. So they would have qualified for the Champions League proper. So let's have a look at them in their group and see how they got on. You can see Real Madrid beat Juventus this year in the final, but let's go back and look at the group stage to see how our English teams got on. Let's look at all groups. So we can see English teams, Hayes and Yedding, 0 points, minus 26 goal difference, as you would expect at this point. They're playing conference level players in this, and it's not going too well for them. Harrogate actually managed to get a draw. Who did they draw against? I can't see for some reason, annoyingly. But they did manage to get a draw. I'm assuming it's against Tel Aviv. It must be against Tel Aviv. That's the only other team that actually drew. So well done to Harrogate for getting a draw. Gosport unfortunately got 0 points as well with a minus 20 goal difference. Let's look at the Euro Cup though and see what happened in this competition. So we can see Wolfsburg beat Lazio 1-0 in the final. But the group stage, we would have had a few English teams in here, I'm guessing. Maybe 1 or 2. Man United actually won their group. So Man United did qualify for the Euro Cup this year because of winning the FA Cup, or was it League Cup? No, it must have been FA Cup. They weren't in the League Cup. So if we go down, Weston-super-Mare, 0 points in their group. Bishop Stortford also got 0 points. it's going to be intriguing to follow the journeys of these teams that get into Europe over the next couple of years. You see Notts County also qualified via the League Cup, but 0 points for them as well, finishing bottom of the table. Now, if there's anything you want me to cover in future videos, anything major, nothing small that isn't relevant, but something major to do with these divisions that you think I'm missing out that I should show, then let me know in the comment section as well. But let's have a look at the Championship then. Ebbsfleet won with 118 points. They only lost 2 games all season, running away with it. They were favourites to win last year, but they've managed to go up this year instead. Tranmere Rovers' second successive promotion for them, are up to the Premier League. 98 points, just about ahead of Macclesfield on goal difference. And Tamworth went up via the playoffs. Chelmsford City, my boys, going down this season with Boston United and Worcester City. Unfortunate for Chelmsford. Bath just about surviving. You can see the top scorer was Odalosi for Ebbsfleet. Martin Riley, top average rating. Aaron Wildig for Ebbsfleet, 19 assists. You can see the manager movements. Boston United and Chelmsford City both very busy this season. Down to League One then. And we can see Carlisle United's second successive promotion. I guess this is predictable. The bigger teams going up and facing weaker opposition. Carlisle are probably got the highest reputation out of any of these teams in this division, and they've easily gone up with Cambridge United and Oxford, both of them getting promoted together once again, which is nice symmetry really. Guiseley, Basingstoke, Hednesford and FC United getting relegated. I think Basingstoke got relegated last year as well, so FC United and Basingstoke going down 2 years in a row. What is going to happen to FC United? I'm sure there's quite a few of you interested in FC United. That probably one of the most popular teams to manage on FM16, but they are really struggling, and they're probably going to go back down all the way to Conference North at this rate, because they are struggling big time. League 2 then, which is the division that has the most normal teams in its division. So League 2 was the division that was in the middle, so at the start of the save they were all League 2 teams. But Sheffield United have managed to get promoted for a second successive year. I predicted that would happen, along with Millwall as well. Portsmouth also going up from League 2, and Wycombe Wanderers going up in the playoffs. Welling and Altrincham going down. Is that their second successive relegation? Not 100% sure. No, they actually got promoted last year. This is their second successive relegation actually. So last year they did finish 23rd in League 1, and I think it's the same for Altrincham as well. Looking at them, second successive relegation. That was last year. League 1 they finished 24th, and they finished bottom again with only 12 points. But there are a couple of teams that have survived in League 2 after getting relegated last year. So going down to the conference, or the Vanarama National League as it is known now, we see Chelsea and Man City are the two teams to go up. It was going to be either Chelsea, Man City or Man United going up, or Arsenal, sorry, and the top 4 are those 4 teams, as you would predict. But Chelsea managed to win the league, only losing 1 game all season. Man City second with 124 and going up via the playoffs. Aguero top scorer, then Remy and Sanchez with 25 goals. Aguero got the top average rating. De Bruyne got most assists once again. So these players are still playing for these teams, despite the fact they're now playing in the National League. It remains to be seen how long they will stay there, though, because they won't be playing Champions League football for a few years, remember. We will most probably see Chelsea, Man City, Man United, Arsenal whiz up the table back to the Premier League, but they will be weaker by the time they get there. I'm hoping they're weaker by the time they get there to give the other teams a bit more of a chance, simply because I think some of these players will move on to other European teams, or possibly up to teams like Hemel Hempstead who will have the money to spend. Gillingham, Bury, Morecambe and York were the teams unfortunate to get relegated out of this division. So perhaps let me know at the end of this video. We'll do some sort of prediction thing, I think, where who you think will get to the Premier League first. So in the comment section below, who will, out of those teams, so Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, Man United, who's going to get to the Premier League first? So this is the Conference North, the Vanarama National League North. Liverpool, 112 points, champions quite easily, only losing 2 games. Newcastle finishing second with 90 points, but it was actually Stoke City that went up via the playoffs, beating Everton and Leeds as well. Lukaku, top scorer of 30 goals. Coutinho, top average rating. Assists was James Morrison for West Brom. You can see manager movements over here, and we'll go down to the National League South to see Tottenham win the league with only 3 defeats, 107 points. Swansea going up via the playoffs with 85 points. We've still got Palace, Southampton, Norwich, QPR, West Ham. Lots of big teams in here not being able to get promoted this year, and they will have to wait their turn. You can see Christian Eriksen top of the average rating and also top of the assists. So I'm going to holiday another year and see what's happened in the second season or the third season overall in this experiment. But before I do that, I forgot to show the cups. So English FA Cup, Arsenal beat Man City 3-2 on extra time. Does mean Arsenal will qualify for the Europa League next year. The League Cup was won by Wycombe Wanderers 1-0 against Sheffield United. That means they also qualify for Europe next year as well. Community Shield, Man United beat Harrogate 5-0. So the FA Cup winners against the Premier League champions. And it's a pretty convincing win for the FA Cup winners this time round. The Johnson's Paint Trophy was won by Oxford 2-1 against Northampton Town. And lastly, the FA Trophy won by Arsenal 4-1 against Man United. Walcott, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Cazorla, Sanchez and Memphis with the goals in this game. This is effectively the real FA Cup now. The FA Trophy has become the FA Cup. Although next year, Chelsea and Man City that went up, they won't be in this trophy next year. So it'll probably be Arsenal versus Man United again. So it's the end of the 2017-18 season, and as you can see, Gosport have finally got one over on Harrogate and won the league with 90 points. That's the most we've seen so far. Harrogate finishing second though with 81 points. Those two seem to be the big hitters now. Lowestoft finishing third, and Ebbsfleet, only just promoted, finishing fourth, doing very well. So I think they're probably going to have a good time in this division as well. Margate once again finishing fifth, and Hemel Hempstead doing pretty well once again as well. Corby, Wildstone and Concord Rangers, the three teams that had to go down. Whitehawk just about surviving, as did Bradford PA. Top scorer was Berisha for Gosport, a Norwegian international striker. So there's some more quality coming to the Premier League now and coming into these teams. You can see the manager movements there. Chris Hughton was actually in charge, or he's in charge of Sutton United. We saw Eddie Howe get sacked as Sutton United manager. He's now in charge of Tamworth in the Premier League. So they're certainly signing some good managers, or reasonably good managers, these teams. Rio Ferdinand is in charge of Corby at the moment, which is pretty random, but he got them relegated. Some really great manager movements going on. The Premier League is now dropped to third in the competition ratings. I wonder if the Champions League places have now gone on, has now reduced. We'll have a quick look. Top two teams qualified for Champions League group stage. One team for the best placed playoff, and two teams for Euro Cup group stage. So that has changed again. I suppose the FA Cup and Capital One Cup winners still qualify for the Euro Cup, but that's changed already. Only 3 places in the Champions League, although that may be due to real life scenario. There is a risk that England could lose the 4th place anyway in real life, even with real Premier League teams in the top division. So transfer wise, the top signing was Martial going from Man United to Hemel Hempstead for £11 million. That is fantastic. So how did he do in his first season? Yeah, he must have moved in January because he's only got 3 goals in 8 games. But Hemel Hempstead, the big hitters again, but they only finished 6th. They're going to have to spend a lot more money. Otherwise they're going to, I guess, turn into like Liverpool, missing out on the Champions League but spending lots of money, and Spurs have done it in recent years as well. There are teams in real life that spend lots of money, miss out on the Champions League. That seems to be Hemel Hempstead at the moment. Zach Clough and Damari Gray were the next 2 big signings, both going to Gosport, who won the league. Gosport did spend overall a lot of money, as you can see here. Lots of signings coming into the team. They've signed Dele Alli, they've signed Harry Maguire from Hull, and quite a few players coming in here. Really interesting. James Wilson going from Man United to Lowestoft for £3.9 million. So these are sort of, I guess, periphery players that are not right at the top of their game yet. So perhaps in a year or two we will see these teams like Hemel Hempstead spending huge amounts of money on the real stars of these real life Premier League teams. So fascinating stuff going on at the moment in the top division. Championship wise then, Carlisle, Oxford and Cambridge going up for the 3rd season in a row. All 3 of them doing very well. Carlisle have been champions of League 2, League 1 and now the Championship. And Cambridge went up via the playoffs, just missing out on automatic behind Oxford, but they did manage to beat Woking, Macclesfield and Truro to go up to the top league. So those three teams could become really powerful teams in the Premier League now that they've made it to that stage. It'd be really fascinating to see what happens to those three over the next couple of years. Stalybridge, Maidstone and Bath were the three teams relegated. You can see Lee Novak, top scorer for Oxford. Let's look at the transfers. There's not a huge amount of money in this division. The top signing was actually from Oxford to Maidenhead, and then the next biggest was from Carlisle to St Albans. Curious. So let's go down to League 1 then. I just find this so interesting when we get to this point. Sheffield United, champions once again. Millwall also going up once again, so that's the third successive promotion for both of those two teams. Yeovil also going up in the playoffs. I really want to see some of these other teams recovering. Teams like Eastleigh that in real life are in the National League. I want to see them try and fight their way up and beat the likes of Sheffield United, but it's going to be tough. My boys Chelmsford City relegated for the second successive season on 17 points, a really bad season for them. Southport, Boston United and Bromley also going down. Remember, if you spot anything interesting, like a team that you've seen get relegated 2 seasons in a row but then survive in League 1 for example, let me know, because I can't remember or spot everything. So going down to League 2, Man City and Chelsea predictably got promoted from League 2 comfortably, so both of them only lost 1 game each. Chelsea beaten each other actually. Luton got the last automatic promotion place, and Northampton went up via the playoffs, beating Leyton Orient, Plymouth and Hartlepool. Hednesford and Guiseley relegated from League 2. Have they been relegated a couple of times in a row? So they survived League 1 just about in the first season, and now they've been relegated twice in a row. And Hednesford have been relegated 3 times in a row now. So they relegated from the Championship, League 1 and now League 2. They're back in the National League, unfortunately for them. Diego Costa top scorer, De Bruyne second, Aguero biggest average rating, Oscar with the highest number of assists. I'm interested to see some of the signings. So Arsenal, in the division below, signed Zuma from Chelsea for 11 million. So Arsenal's still spending a lot of money, despite the fact they're actually below Chelsea and Man City here. That is curious. But two of the biggest signings, we saw Gosport sign Patrick Roberts from Man City for 1.4 million. Wow. And Margate in the top division making the signing from Luton as well. Let's go down to the National League then, which was won by Arsenal. So they're up to the Football League along with arch rivals Tottenham getting promoted 2 seasons in a row. Man United missing out again. They're stuck in the National League. Liverpool also missing out just about by 1. Well, in the playoffs they were just 1 point behind Tottenham. Swansea, the other team in the playoffs, missing out. Stoke finished 6th. We've got anyone else at the moment? Blackpool down in 19th. Southend just about surviving. Welling, Oldham, Burton and Altrincham relegated. Altrincham having a really bad time actually. That's their 3rd successive relegation. Now, a challenge for you guys is to take control of one of these teams that's getting relegated and try and keep them in their respective divisions. So keep Altrincham in League 1 where they started. Sanchez scored 36 goals this season. Wow. 36 goals in the league, 42 in all competitions. Had a fine old time this season, didn't he? Ozil with 27 assists as well. Really, really good season for him. Paul Ince sacked as Chesterfield manager, just noticed that. And Altrincham getting through. How many managers have they been through actually? I swear they've been through loads. Yes, they've been. Look how many. So since the start, they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 managers in 3 seasons. Fantastic. Okay, down to the National League North then, where West Brom were promoted as champions, 1 point ahead of Newcastle and Everton. Everton did go up via the playoffs though. Perez, top scorer of 35 goals. Oh, look at the teams relegated. These are the teams that I think. Well, Darlington 1883 were promoted up from the regional leagues. Colwyn Bay, I think, as well, got relegated and came back. York, all 3 of them doing awfully. That is really atrocious stuff from those 3 teams. I'm just going to have a look at the transfers as well. So Gosport spending a lot of money on Damari Gray. We've seen that already. Margate signing a Leicester player, Ben Chilwell, for 7.75 million. We saw the Maguire transfer. Alex Mowatt going from Leeds to Gosport for 3.2 million. Gosport must have a fantastic team actually. Really good young team as well, looking at them. You can see the names there yourself. If you want to pause it, you can have a look. But Dele Alli, Diego Poyet, Patrick Roberts, Matthew Targett, they've got some cracking young English talent here. And they're going to be producing some of the best English players over the next few years, I reckon. So the National League South was won by Southampton, 102 points, and West Ham went up via the playoffs this time, beating Watford on penalties to go up. Heartbreak for Watford. Aston Villa and QPR also missing out. Bournemouth really struggling in this, down in 14th place. They've become a mid-table team in the National League South. Kingstonian, Kettering and Tonbridge getting relegated quite easily there. Troy Deeney, top scorer. Aaron Creswell, most assists. And I'm just going to have a quick look at the transfers again. Zach Clough going for 8.75 million to Gosport. We've seen some of these transfers as well already. Oh, I've just noticed Giroud going from Arsenal to Southampton for 3.6 million. So the FA Cup won by Hull City on penalties against West Ham United. But unfortunate for my team there. And the League Cup was won by Man City against Cambridge 3-1. And Maguire scoring for Cambridge, Sterling, Mitcham and De Bruyne for Man City. So Man City qualify for Europe next year. Community Shield won by Arsenal 3-0 against Harrogate. Giroud and Sanchez with the goals. And going down to the Johnson's Paint Trophy, 4-1 win for Manchester City. For Chelsea, against Manchester City. You can see the goal scorers there if you're interested. And lastly, the FA Trophy won by Tottenham, 1-0 against Man United in the final. Nasser Chadli with the winning goal. So this is the England team. We've got Gareth Southgate in charge now. Wayne Rooney's still the top player and still playing for Man United. But let's have a quick look at the teams that are involved in the England team. So there's a Gosport. We do have two Gosport players, Damari Gray and Zach Clough are in there. We've got a player playing in Saudi Arabia. Danny Ings has moved there. Derby County, Will Hughes is still there. Nothing completely outlandish yet, but perhaps it will change. Wes Fotheringham's in the England team, just like my debut challenge FM16 England series. If you haven't watched that, maybe go and check that out. Just to let you know, France beat Italy on penalties in Euro 2016. Champions League was won by Juventus this year. I'm interested to see how our English boys got on in the group stage though this time round. You can see Hayes and Yedding 0 points once again, Harrogate 0 points again, and Gosport finishing on 3 points. They managed to win a game. Who did they beat? Let's see. Let's look at their schedule and see how they did. So they lost against Benfica, lost against Atletico Madrid, lost against Atletico. They beat Benfica 1-0. Well done. We've got a team winning in the Champions League. That's great to see. Euro Cup was won by Inter Milan. We'll just have a quick look at the group stages. Hemel Hempstead, bottom of their group, but they did win a game and draw a game as well, finishing on 4 points. Margate, 0 points. And Arsenal qualifying from their group, so they got through to the second round at least, where they lost against Valencia. So I'm going to move on to the last season now. It's quite a long video this, but I like to do these in depth because they are so interesting. And if you are really interested in these videos, then you will watch them. So well done if you've got to this stage so far. Lowestoft are the Barclays Premier League champions of 2018-19 with 86 points. They ran away with it really. Gosport, the big players so far, getting 77 points. Ebbsfleet 74. Harrogate all the way down in 10th place. They've really dropped off. Hayes and Yedding relegated. They finished in the top 4 like 3 seasons, didn't they? Sutton United and Bradford PA also relegated. Sutton United were doing quite well, I think, as well. Origi, top scorer of 20 goals. James Wilson, second. And Benica Phobie, third. Charlie Taylor, biggest average rating, ex-Leeds man at Gosport. And he also got most man of the matches. Let's look at some of the managers then. Manager movements. Rio Ferdinand's in charge of Sutton United now. Doogie Freedman in charge of Weston-super-Mare. Who's in charge of Lowestoft then? It is David Moyes. David Moyes was in charge of Lowestoft when they won the league last year, I think. Let's just have a quick look at their manager history. Yeah, he's been here since 2017, so he won the league with Lowestoft last year. This year led them to second place. To first place. What am I talking about? He won the league this year. Gosport won the league last year. So Gosport had and they've got Alex Pike in charge. So well done to David Moyes. He's won the league this year with Lowestoft Town. Let's look at some of their players then. You can see there, they've got Ochoa in goal. It's going to go to selection info, see who their top scorer was. It was James Wilson. Average rating, Brendan Galloway. Got Paddy McNair in there, Joel Zakor. Some good names in there. Doing really well. But I'm more interested in Gosport, simply because they've signed so many young English players. They've got Mike Carter as their captain, who is a player, I guess, that was originally here. Yes, so he's still captain, but James Tompkins is their vice-captain, moving from West Ham for 2.9 million this year. And their key player is Dele Alli, who's got 2 England caps now, and it's obviously their star player. But yeah, this is really very, very interesting. Divock Origi, their top scorer. Zach Clough having a decent season as well. They've got Dele Alli, Barishi, Izzy Brown, the Chelsea wonder kid, Charlie Taylor, Damari Gray, Moreno, Patrick Roberts, still very young, Matthew Tugg, Michael Keane, Carl Jenkinson. They've got Foderingham in goal as well. Wow, this is fantastic. These are the biggest transfers then. James Ward-Prowse moving from Southampton to Ebbsfleet for 14 million. We saw Jamie Wood go from Harrogate to Maidenhead for 13 million. Lowestoft paid 11.25 million for a Malaga player. Great stuff. Let's have a look at the awards. Player of the season, Footballer of the year was Charlie Taylor for Gosport. Golden Glove, Ben Garrett for Ebbsfleet. And Manager of the year, David Moyes. Well done to David. I just want to have a look at Team of the year, and you can pause the video and have a look yourself at the players involved, but some good names in there. So going down to the Championship then, we saw Yeovil and Sheffield United promoted once again. Sheffield United have been promoted 4 seasons in a row, but Millwall missing out this time because Truro managed to defeat Gloucester in the playoff final. Really good stuff for Truro, getting promoted back. This is a success story. They were relegated from the top division. You're thinking, they're going to get relegated all the way down now to the bottom. However, they've turned it around and managed to get promoted under Paul Jewell back to the promised land. Their key player is actually a regen. So some of these teams will start to produce some really good players. Accrington actually produced this guy. But hopefully some of these teams will spend money on their youth systems, produce lots of good young players to help sustain them in the future. That would be the sensible thing to do. Let's see if the AI is intelligent enough to do that for some of these teams. Hamilton Waterloo, AFC Fylde and AFC Telford were the 3 teams that were relegated. In fact, the top scorer is a regen as well. Dean Walker for Yeovil, starting at Preston on this game. But he is the top scorer in the Premier League, the Championship, at the age of 19. Going down to League One then, which was won by Chelsea and Man City finishing second. That is predictable. Chelsea won every single game this year. That is incredible. Man City drew against Stalybridge. Well done to Stalybridge. That's fantastic. Diego Costa, top scorer of 34 goals. They're up to the Championship. They're going to be in the Premier League very soon, aren't they, in a matter of 2 seasons. Boreham Wood, Wrexham, Gateshead and Dover relegated. So it really is up to the teams in the Premier League at the moment to spend the money, improve their whole club and try and compete with Chelsea and Man City when they're back in the top league. I think it's obvious which teams are going to be in the Premier League first on this save. It's going to be Chelsea and Man City, both of them. Can't see one of them missing out on promotion next season. Tottenham and Arsenal will be the teams just behind them. Tottenham winning the league, winning every single game as well. Wow. Arsenal actually losing in both games against Spurs, obviously, and drawing 3 games against Basingstoke, Leyton Orient and Stevenage. Leyton Orient got the 3rd place, and Plymouth went up via the playoffs. Sanchez, top scorer, 27 goals. Kane doing pretty well, 25. Ozil, top average rating and most assists as well. Doing very, very well. Down to the National League, which was won by Man United. They finally managed to get promoted from this. 3rd time lucky, I think. We saw Swansea and Stoke lose points. They've gone into administration, which is... where did they finish? Stoke 12th and Swansea 7th. So that is interesting. It's another fascinating, intriguing thing to this, because some of the Premier League teams just won't be able to sustain themselves. They'll be spending so much money going against regulations, financial fair play, I guess, and then losing points because of it. Swansea and Stoke are in financial problems. Let's look at Stoke then. They've got Darren Kelly in charge. Shaqiri is still there as their key player. The reputation has been completely destroyed. They're down to 1 star. Their finances are apparently secure. Let's look at Man United, just to compare. Their reputation is 1.5 stars because they're obviously so far down the divisions now. They've still got De Gea. Daley Blind is their captain. They've got Ryan Shawcross as well. But just to compare, I just want to see what's happened to Chelsea's reputation. They're still 4.5 star because they've managed to fly up the divisions quite quickly. And Man City are 2.5. That's weird. There's a real massive difference between some of the clubs by the looks of it. But Man United is a big shock because obviously they're a huge worldwide team. And now that their reputation is only regional, that is ridiculous what we have done to them. But quite funny at the same time. Not for Man United fans out there watching, but I'm just saying it's wow, it's really crazy what's happened. They've got the same reputation as West Ham. What about Southampton? They're also regional and insecure finances. Will they struggle in the Football League? They've got promoted by the playoffs, but they might not go all the way up now because they've got insecure finances. You see Memphis top scorer, Lukaku just behind with 32 goals. Rondon still at West Brom scoring lots of goals as well. Going down to the National League North then, Newcastle United champions, Sheffield Wednesday going up for the playoffs. So real life Premier League teams, the likes of Sunderland, are still stuck here. Is that the only team? Sunderland? I think it might be. So Sunderland are the only team that have missed out. Hyde, Altrincham and Morecambe relegated. Barini top scorer for Sunderland this year. Matt Loughton top average rating. Let's see who's in charge of Sunderland actually. They've probably been through about 1,700 managers. No, surprisingly, Allardyce was there for almost 3 years and now Neil Ardley's been in charge for a while. What about Newcastle? They must have been through a few. Oh, they've still got Steve McLaren in charge. Wow. Okay, interesting. Okay, down to the south then, which was won by Watford, 103 points. Aston Villa going up via the playoffs. So real-life Premier League teams. Leicester still stuck there. Norwich still stuck there. And Bournemouth are still stuck there as well. Dulwich Hamlet, Dorchester and Hendon relegated. Welling just about surviving on 13 points. That is brilliant. They only won 4 games and drew 1 game all season, but still survived. Diafra top scorer for Aston Villa. The reputation went up initially thanks to the Premier League teams, but it's starting to drop again as we lose some of the Premier League teams going up. Aston Villa have Mick McCarthy in charge now. Going down to the FA Cup then, which was won by Chelsea, 2-1 against Man City. The 2 League One teams battling it out, meaning Chelsea will be in Europe next year. Capital One Cup, also won by Chelsea. So they won on penalties against Man City. Once again, Man City have had a rough time, haven't they, in these competitions? Gosport won the Community Shield against Hull City. That is great. That is good to see. And then lastly, 2 more things. Johnson's Paint Trophy, Man City did win. They managed to beat Chelsea. 3 cup finals for these 2 teams. And then the FA Trophy won by Newcastle, 3-1 against Liverpool. I mean, why would you want to win the FA Cup when you can win the Johnson's Paint Trophy? Champions Cup then. Let's have a look. And the winners were Real Madrid. They beat Juventus in the final. Wow, look at this. Real Madrid, Juventus, Juventus, Real Madrid, Real Madrid, Juventus. What's going on there? So I think there's only 2 English teams in the groups now, unless one managed to get through the 3rd place playoff. Gosport, 4 points. They finished above Anderlecht, so they've gone into the Europa League. Harrogate also finished 3rd, so they will also have done that. So going down to the Europa League, let's have a look at the final first of all, just to see who managed to win it. It was Zenit, 3-1 against Lazio, but let's go back in time, see if there's any English teams getting to the knockout stages. So, nope. So they must have got knocked out in the first knockout round. We saw Lowestoft lose against Lyon, and we saw Gosport lose against Ajax, and we saw Harrogate lose against Zenit in their knockout round as well. And Man City lost against Besiktas, so they got through to the knockout round. You can see the group stages here for those interested. Ebbsfleet finished 3rd, unlucky not to qualify as well. But Man City won their group. Lowestoft finished 2nd in their group to get through, doing very well. Hull bottom of their group. Quite a few English teams in the Europa League then. This is really ridiculous now. Japan beat Argentina 1-0 in the World Cup final last year. No, yeah, 1-0. Kagawa with the winning goal. Wow, that is crazy. That really is. That wouldn't happen in real life, surely. Let's go back. Third place playoff, Holland beat Croatia. Well, I think we'll end it on that bombshell. It's not relatable to our experiment, but it's quite a fascinating thing, really. Japan winning the World Cup against Argentina. So I hope you've enjoyed this part 2. It's been a long one. We've gone through 3 seasons in detail, looking at transfers, looking at how the teams are getting on. Chelsea and Man City on the march. They're going to be up to the Premier League in the next part, I'm sure. The question is, can the likes of Gosport, Lowestoft hold off Man City and Chelsea when they get there? I really hope Gosport and Lowestoft can hold them off, and Hemel Hempstead, other teams, can defeat them and finish above them, but I've not got much hope because Chelsea and Man City still have their star men. It's been intriguing, this, I must say, and I've enjoyed it, and I hope you have too. Please hit the like button if you have. Part 3 will be out soon. Download the database from the description below, from the Steam Workshop, subscribe to it, and then play on it on the game yourself. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Until next time, enjoy Football Manager 2016, guys.